Hi, it's Xavier. Welcome to my bonsai retreat. And do you know what? Finally, the Tigerbark Ficus are going to get their haircuts. The little one on the far right or far left to you, you will know from that short that got a lot of interest, and there's a lot of mixed comments about whether I ever made the right decision about taking that big branch off. Well, first of all, I'm going to show it to you and show you just how healthy it is, and it's building bigger, brighter and better. Well, I think so. And also, this big tiger bark, which I think if you've watched a couple of the videos related to this before, you'll know that I've taken big branches off, and I made the big decision that I was actually going to follow in the footsteps of Nigel Saunders and stick entirely to a clip and grow method for this. Now, I want to say this, clip and grow doesn't mean you can't use wire. It just means you're looking for a preferred direction from bud selection as how things are. But yeah, I'm going to try and avoid using wire and keep going that way. So we're going to be giving this a bit of a midsummer haircut and have a look and see how they are at the end of it. And I'm also going to show you a little surprise treat of something I have planned a little bit later. What I can say, it does have something to do with this ficus, and well, it's going to be a lot of fun, but more of that at the end. So if you're ready for that, watch on. Well, let's start small first. I know and I hope that there's a few of you out there who are going to feel that my decision, although it's taking a bit longer, wasn't necessarily the wrong decision. And yes, bonsai is all about our own personal choice, but let's zoom in on this and just have a look, and you tell me how you like and what you think of it. Bearing in mind that I actually always said that I think the front probably going to sit around about there. So let's zoom in and we'll do a little twirl, shall we? We've got lots of growth we are going to be cutting back, definitely. That is the point where the branch was removed from, and it was a big branch that came straight up here. And it didn't look bad, but I wanted to open it up to make future design a lot better and ultimately allow this to grow bigger. And while that branch was there, it was stopping me from doing what I'm doing right now, which is developing more structure and growth upwards. It still has a long way to go, but I think somewhere in there is probably my preferred front. Do you want to know what happened to that, by the way?
Not really.
I don't know if you remember, but I put it in a little pot and I said, fine, because they're absolutely brilliant with branch cuttings. You just shove them in there, don't really need to think about them at all. It's got some interesting designs going on. It's growing a bit slower than I thought it might. Right down at the base, I know you can't see that, I've got the original trunk chop scar, but yeah, there it is. I think it's doing pretty good actually, and this will feature in a bit of a surprise which I'll talk about later in the video. So yeah, overall, am I happy? Big thumbs up from here. So what am I going to be doing midsummer? It's actually probably about 3 weeks later than I normally do this pruning. I normally do a big full defoliation about 3 weeks after bringing them out from inside with a view to developing the sun-resistant new leaf growth. Well, this year I forgot entirely, just didn't have time. So they've been allowed to just grow unchecked, and you know what? I think those leaves, everything, are looking really and healthy for it. So all I really need to do is do a bit of clipping back to profile probably, and looking where I want future branch growth. And the interesting thing I can show here is that because I want this to be the front, this branch here is actually not really in the ideal position. So what I'd be looking for is, say, a point about here and getting a bud coming out from there. So if I cut that straight off, that opens that up again. We've also got just here a smaller branch that's coming out, and normally I'd think, oh, that might be useful, except for one thing. It is literally paralleling the one above it, and it's half the size, so I don't gain anything at all by going for this and removing that top one. So in this instance, I'll remove that. And what I'm looking for, ideally, is some bud back from there, probably. And I will shorten this one off. Same here, shorten this off. Coming along here, I've got a nice one there, but it's going upwards. here, that leaf take it that way, and again this is going up, so that's no good at all, and we'll just do something with a bud. And finally this one here, really I want something from this lower bud, so let's take that back to there and try and get something to come out. And yes, straight away what you can see is I've totally and utterly taken away all that lovely foliage, but what I'm looking for is directive, the next set to be coming out this way, I want something out this way preferably, and that one I don't like at all, but I'm trying to get certainly buds to get a lower pad coming out this way. And this really is such an easy tree to work with. I really do like them, and they're not complicated, and as soon as you take wire out of the equation, it gets even better. I don't want this length, I want further back, so keeping in line with that, I've got 1, 2, definitely remove that. I could probably go back even further, take it to there. And I'm sure we've all done this sort of pruning work. And the good thing, as I've said before with ficus, if you get it wrong and you take something off, if the thing is healthy, which you can see from the leaf structure this is, it will always give you loads more buds. Will it back bud from bare wood? Well, yes, it has done, because I've done full defoliations and it's done just that. But generally, I do like to keep a couple of leaves on there to help force the useful juices up towards the point where I want those buds from. So we just need to keep going around here and find the pad there. It's very hard. We've got something here that's going upwards. It's really not what I want. Again, so we'll keep it to there. And then we've literally just got this one here. For now, I'll keep that upward one there. I want to see how this in here develops. So it's slowly being denuded of leaves, but this is a great time to do it. And there we go. Took 5 minutes. Literally everything's come back down to the first 2 sets of leaves. Primarily looking for little junctions that are going to send more shoots coming out horizontally rather than vertically, certainly lower down. Yep, it's very, very nude, so what will I do? I'll put it in the shade. Certainly don't want the sun getting in there and cooking anything there. And I have every confidence that within the next 3, 4, 5 weeks we're going to see lots of more shoots coming out and potentially more back budding on just a few of these branches here, which I could do with having more back budding on. If I was going to wire any branch at all, it would be this one here, just to take it further out that way. But I don't need to do that. So there's my front. I suppose the only thing left to do is what we're going to do with its offspring, so to speak. Well, I think this is developing potentially as a nice little marmite. I'll come in close and show you. Now, I've got a number of choices with this. I could actually remove perhaps a weaker little branch here, just go with these 2 stronger ones here and let it grow taller. I could, as I say, even go so far as to remove this central one and try and grow something small on this. And to be fair, what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove that weaker branch there. I don't want anything growing upwards. Again, I won't be wiring it, so I'm going to let that branch continue to grow out. I've got this branch here I quite like. Potentially that's what we need to do. And I would imagine I'm looking at that, and that could eventually quite easily be cut here and remove that as well, but I'm going to let this grow out. I won't touch it for a good year and we'll see how it looks. Bear in mind that's free, it's got a lovely little bit of movement in there, which was in there with the original branch. I'm quite happy. I could keep it small as marmite, or I could indeed just let it go and it continues to grow and thicken. So should we crack on to the main event then and do exactly the same with the parent plant?
I want to sit through this.
Right, well, I'm going to say straight away, this is not going to be the pot that it's going to stay in, but I put it in this a few years back because I knew the roots needed a lot of recovery work. And definitely, if you haven't seen that video to see just how different this tree looked, because there was a great big branch that came out here, then you need to have a look up there. It's really quite an interesting video. In fact, does anyone know what happened to that branch? Because a couple of people, did I say branch? It's very posh of me. A couple of people said they thought it should have stayed on there. Well, little secret, it's doing all right on its own. I'll show you that in a minute. So front is probably going to be here. I'll say straight away, not entirely sure about this, and yet the challenges of not using wire is really quite apparent with something this big. But I did have someone who said they loved the way it was growing up naturally. So guess what? We're just going to continue that. We're going to prune it right back to 2 or 3 leaves and let it go again and see what it does. I'll give you a spin of it now before it gets denuded. It's lovely, really, really lovely trunk, and nice root base on it. I really love it actually. And as I say, it comes out as soon as the temperatures get anywhere near sort of 14 degrees in the daytime, down to about 10 at night. So when was that? May, that sort of time this year. And it loves being outside. So if you've got a ficus which you normally keep inside, make sure you treat it to a nice outdoor summer holiday. You can always bring it back in when those temperatures starting to drop. Got the one aerial root on it. Got 2 hopes of trying to get aerial roots in this country. So let's pull it back, and then I can get a chance to have a look at the structure inside and see how it's looking. Not entirely sure. This could get removed, you know. It's weak. It's not really doing anything. I'm just going to take a few bits off it. I don't like it. It's got this funny bend that comes up and around, and there was part of a bigger branch that went up there. I'm not convinced it does anything. In fact, you let me know in the comments. This one here. I'm not wiring, so is it best to get rid of it or continue to hopefully get something to grow out pad wise here? So then we've got this here. Take the tops off. Tops. And I'm going to take the odd leaf off here and there, because I really want to try and encourage this to put out buds in the direction I want, not the direction it wants. The process has started. Should we come back? I mean, there's not going to be anything more different. We'll come back when I've done a third of it, shall I? A little bit ill looking leaf. To be fair, this has been relatively fit actually. I need the growth coming out this way, not that way. So I'm going to take that growing tip off. And the same here. What's been nice this year actually is I've had very, very little signs of any sort of insect infestation at all. This one that's going up there, again, wire would be the ideal, and there'll be people saying there, don't be silly, wire it, but I wouldn't have wire in nature, I suppose. Again, another one would do much better with wire. Hey, maybe I will put wire on it. Right back, I want growth coming out this way. And ultimately, if I was to do that, what I really need to do is probably think about removing this entire branch and regrowing from here. So I'll wait and see what happens there. And that's what I'm really looking with this directional pruning. I'm waiting for the tree to give me something that I can actually use. Yeah. And it will eventually. If it stays healthy, it will. Okay, well, we compared this size, this lovely lush growth, to these few straggly bits of leaf around here. It's yeah, it's going to look a bit miserable for a few weeks, I think, but it'll be worth it again when we look at it again in a couple of months' time. So I'll get this one down to the number. Is it a number 2 cut, do you think, or is that a number 1 cut? Anyway, let's get this one down as well. and you wouldn't have heard me muttering because we've obviously gone in fast motion just a minute ago. I was muttering to myself, is it just pride now that's stopping me from wiring a few of those branches out?
7 deadly sins, and yours is pride.
Some of these could definitely benefit from being spread further out, but so that's been taken quite a long way back. This side is a lot more promising than this side. There's a lot more ramification that started taking place, so I've got a lot more bud directions that are to my liking. This one that's going upwards, I'll eventually remove this top one when I get some more growth out this way. So that pad is actually looking quite good. This obviously still needs to grow, and I still need to get it to move just a little bit further out this way through natural processes. I mean, if we look at the sort of problems I'm going to have, we've got this great big leggy growth up here. I would imagine that will get cut all the way back to here. Same with leggy growth here, it'll get cut all the way back. Straight away, yeah, can you use those as cuttings? Poke them in some soil, no cutting, no cutting powder or anything like that, absolutely fine. So no rooting hormone required. And there we go, all number one'd back. Cut back nice and tight there. Well, I haven't redefined, I've literally just clipped back. I've removed a few odd branches, but there was nothing different that I did up there that I didn't explain fully here. I'm literally taking it back to 2, maybe the 3rd leaf if I want a bud coming from that direction. But otherwise, the other thing of course I was doing is all around this, I was checking to see if there were any aphids starting on this. It's been really good this year, as I've already said. And I did notice at the top growth of just a couple of the little aphids there ready to start yomping on this, so it'll get a spray. But there's only one thing really that we need to do to this, but I'll tell you that in a minute, because first of all you want to know what happened to that, don't you? There it is. It was actually, I think it was like that underneath it, somewhere like that. Came off, plonked it straight in the ground, and this has got a really interesting style. So should we prune this first, and then I'll show you what I want to do with that. And like the other cutting, there's still quite a few different ways I can go with this. The main thing I want to do is keep it healthy and try and slowly find out what the tree tells me it wants to be.
Let's not go there.
So I've got a stumpy bit here I can sort out and clean up at some point, but first of all I'm assuming the front would be in here, because otherwise we might need to remove this branch. Don't know, I'm not up for removing, although again it's coming, the branch is going up and then everything's going across that way, so it's not really working, and the only way out of that is to wire it. So it may be that the eventual result will be to take that branch off. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll take the bottom one off. It's funny, isn't it? It actually runs parallel to the main branch. Do you know what I'm going to do? Take it off. Okay, so what have we got? We've got this growing up. Don't want that there. Nice buds, probably get a nice pad out that way. We want this to go over a bit, but not as far as it is. Well, we've got 1, 2, 3. I want to take the weakest one out, so we've just got 2. I'm not even sure with this, but it's just neat out. We've got this up there, so I'm going to get rid of this one. This needs another good, decent year. Feed it up heavily, and see what it shows me. You'll see in a minute. I've got about 8 or 9 of the original cuttings from the parent tree I took sort of 3, 4, 5 years ago, and I've just allowed them to go wild, so to speak. But in fact, should we go and have a look at those wild things? Yeah, I've got them down here in a shaded part at the front of the garden, but there's some nice big thick trunks on these. I mean, these are say 5 years old original cuttings. Got to do something with those. There's another nice one there with a very, very interesting trunk on it. And then we've got the smaller ones, which were cuttings that I probably took last year or the year before. So when it comes to the ficus, the cuttings definitely work out. And I actually sold a couple at the market stall this year. I've got one left, I'll show it to you. Yeah, we've got this one here. I'd say this was, I took 5 cuttings. You saw 3 of them just a minute ago in their containers, but then I took another, sorry, 7. And I took another 4 of them and put them into pots a few years back, and there's a video just up there showing you the potting of those. And then I got this one here as well, interesting twin trunk. And I'll need to do the same pruning to these that you've just seen me do. So yeah, so don't underestimate the power of the ficus cuttings. Of all the stuff that I've used, I must be honest, ficus are the absolute easiest, I think, to get decent cuttings and to strike, to be fair. Everything I've cut off there, I could probably get cuttings from. And the only thing that I stop for is not because I don't like indoor stuff, it's the fact they've got to come inside once we get to probably mid-September, depends how the heat waves are going. And once they come inside, they get a bit more sickly. You get a lot more troubles with the honeydew. You've got to spray them. Ventilation's a problem. My house just isn't set up for indoor trees, so you know it takes them a while to recover from normally the winter, which is why you've probably only just seen them now. So what's left to do? Apart from the fact to tell you that those cuttings you've seen, I've got a bit of a plan to turn them into one big sort of forest group. And the main reason for that is then I can have them in one pot with one tray, keeping them all together. So it's all about keeping them easy stored inside. But like all things, there's something definitely missing. I have a lovely little Beatrix Potter bunny. Bunny and ficus always go together well. I have to have my spider stone that little Zeta picked up for me on the beach a couple of years ago and painted a little smiley face. We always have that about, and that just sits at the back somewhere. Finally, you know my children get me loads and loads of mud figures for my birthday and for Christmas, and I think we need this one who's making a little sort of pancakey type thing. I think he can sit quite nicely there. So what do you think? I think that's pretty good, and yeah, we'll change the pot sometime in the next couple of years, but this is coming on and it's going to be something special. So if you've enjoyed watching this, please a big thumbs up. And again, Ficus Tigerbark, brilliant indoor tree. If you haven't got one, then yeah, if you want something indoors, that's what you want. And so easy to care for. And in fact, I'm sure I've done a caring for ficus in my in my care guide, bonsai care guides. And if I haven't, I'll do that this winter. As always, I ask you humbly if you could subscribe or indeed share this to someone who has an indoor tree or might enjoy this. But otherwise, enjoy your bonsai, enjoy your family. Do you know what? Enjoy life. Because sometimes it's great to get up and have a look at your trees. It's just the rest of the stuff that can get you down a bit. All the best, happy bonsai, and God bless. Cheers.